party llama. Party llama makes a party llama breaks a party llama is the party llama party. Do the party llama. Party llama makes a party llama breaks a party llama is the party llama party. Strobe lights, cool hats, disco ball, ice skates if applicable, sunglasses inside, pizza delivered to your door, Capri Sun, bags of chips, variety of assorted dips. Do the party llama. Do the party llama. Do the party llama. Stop. Llama time. Party llama knows how to party.
Good evening, everybody. Wow, this mic's on, isn't it, Sophia?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to have to talk a little quieter. It's so good to have you guys here with us tonight. I see that there are some people complaining about the party llama in the chat that we have here already. I think it was Spencer. I don't think Spencer liked the party llama.
Aww.
You know what we were really trying to aim for was just like what could be the most random video that we could find. Do you have like a go-to video? Anytime you go on like YouTube, you're like, you know what, I have to every now and then just go back and watch that just to feel better about life?
I feel like any like Vine compilation things, like I could watch any of those, but I don't think there's like a specific one that I'm like, oh yes, this is perfect.
Do you have a favorite Vine?
This is controversial, but I really like the Vine where it's like Hurricane Katrina, more like Hurricane Tortilla, because he's just happy. He's just having a good time. And
Yes.
that's like,
Yeah, I remember that one. I remember that. I saw a couple yesterday that were good. Oh, the one where it was like something about like he was a librarian and I don't know. He was he says it a little quieter. We also have to remember that there are actually people watching us right now, which we're so glad you're here. Welcome to The Edge Live, brought to you by your favorite snack, right?
yeah, Cheez-Its.
Is this like if you like were stranded on a desert island, you had to have one snack?
Yeah. I really like Cheez-Its because I feel like they're like savory snacks. Like it's not like candy, and it's not healthy, but it's
No.
Yeah, like
But it's good.
Just good.
It's good. Yeah, that'll be like my one question once I get to heaven is, you know, God, why did you let all the food that was really good for you just like taste bad, and all the good what am I saying? All the food that tastes bad be good for you? I said the same thing twice. It doesn't matter, but we're glad that you're here. Hey, so we're going to kick off tonight with some announcements for you guys, and so we want you to follow along. We got a pretty cool one that we're going to be doing here in a second. So as always, if you're allowed to have an Instagram, we would highly recommend that you follow us on Instagram at NCCSM, simply because this is where a lot of information comes out, although we do send stuff to your parents in the emails, but we've been doing these student-led devotionals. Sophie's devotionals are still out there. It's really good stuff for you to go back and see. And then every now and then I post a random video about random stuff. So, you know, it's a really good place if you're looking for any content about what we're doing, things of that nature. So, hey, we're excited about something that's going to start happening. This happened for high school already this week. We're doing this new thing. You know, we did a survey last week, and pretty much we got some feedback that basically said, hey, we'd love for more of like, let's just hang out. You know, low-key kind of stuff. Like, we don't have to, like, have it be, like, super structured, but it can be really fun. And so we're going to be doing something starting tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Of course, it's on Zoom because we don't think you do enough things on Zoom. So it's 3 o'clock. It's called Middle School Meetup. And if you want to be a part of it, you have to email me or have your parents text me, because I have a special code, or text Sophia here. We have a special code because we're not going to put it out there because we don't want anybody creepy to come into our conversation.
Yeah.
The creepy people are out there. We don't want them in our conversation. But I will tell you, if you show up tomorrow, there's prizes involved. There's games involved. There's funny conversations involved. It's going to be a really good time. So we're going to be doing that tomorrow at 3 p.m. So if you want to get the info to be a part of that, it's more laid back, more chill. We did one with high school on Tuesday. It went well. We highly advise that they be a part of it. Is there anything you'd want to add about the middle school meetup?
Oh, it's just going to be amazing.
It's going to be
fun.
Oh, Sophia and I will be there.
Yeah, we will be there.
Like, that's one thing that we recognize, is that, like, most of the time you spend it with your leaders, and also there'll, like, be guys and girls there. You know what we should try to arrange it, though, is so that, like, when it shows up in, like, gallery mode on Zoom, we can put the guys all on the right and then the girls all on the left. I think we could try to do that. That would be interesting if it just naturally happened. So there's that. We also wanted to tell you, we've been doing this Edge thing for a long time now, and we kind of wondered if there's any end in sight. The reality is we usually end, like, next week was supposed to be our last Edge of the year. Like, 8th graders would have moved up, but because of the coronavirus, we kind of pushed some things going along. And plus, you guys don't have school or sports, or, well, you have school, but no sports or anything right now. So we're going to do the Edge and Rev Live until May 28th. That's going to be our last one because we're going to need a break for the summer. We're still thinking through some stuff about what we might do with summer, but we don't know where we're at yet. But the Edge and Rev Live, we're going to be here until May 28th. So we're adding 3 more additional weeks to what we already had. And so I'm actually going to turn it over to you. That's all I got for stuff. What do you have for us here tonight, Miss Sophia?
We have a game. And the game is you have to finish the quote. It's very easy. There will be a quote up on the screen, and you have to finish it. They're all movie quotes. So we'll do, like, one practice round just so you guys can get the hang of it, and then one real round. So.
All right. So yeah, movie quotes is really important. So is this the example? This is the practice one, this first one?
Yes. So it's to blank and beyond, and you have to text it to my number.
I have your number. I'll have it at the bottom of the screen. So for those of you, don't text this to us yet. For the love of all that is good, we don't want you to blow up Sophia's phone. So for those of you who are at home, in the chat right now, tell us what you think the answer is. What do you think the answer? I'm going to look here. Let's see if we can get this game. All right. Let's see if we understand what's going on here. All right. Let's see if they can get it. I'm a little behind. Remember the 30-second thing?
Oh, yeah.
Let's see if they can get it. All right. I think they're going to type it here in a second. I feel like I'm back to Kahoot the first day.
Oh, yes.
Oh, I got it from Kai already. He had texted me, not you.
Oh, it's okay, Kai.
But Kai's paying attention, so that's good. Nobody's getting it. They'll probably get it here in a second. Okay, so here's the idea. So the answer, of course, is what, Sophia?
To infinity and beyond.
Which is from what wonderful movie?
Toy Story.
Toy Story. Now, does he say it in all 4 Toy Stories?
I think it's just the first one, and then probably, like, the last one. Like, is there a Toy Story 5? I feel like
there's 4. I think we're at 4, but they're making money off them. But there's a good chance there's going to be there's going to be 5. All right, so this next one's really important. What do they have to do in this next one?
They have to text my number, right? Is that what?
Yes.
Is that the important
Do
information?
not text me. All right, text the number at the bottom of the screen. That's very important.
Yes.
So here we go.
Yes. So text it to my number. Also, maybe include your name, just so I am aware of who the prize goes to.
Right. Yeah. And by the way, if you're someone who did send in a say-so video this week, if your parents were able to tell you about that, because we forgot the announcements last week. And by we, I mean me. It's me. No, it's me. It's my fault. So Sophia's going to start getting some text here in a second to see who it is that's going to finish this one. I did put the right number up there, right?
Yes, you did.
Okay, good, because if it was off by one number, there would be one really sad person.
Oh.
There'd be one really, really, really sad person.
Yeah.
You know, what I find is they just start flying in all at, like, one time.
I was like, I feel like... Oh, yep.
Here they go.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh. Yep. Okay, so the first, there's so many texts. The first person to text me is actually a number that I already have, and it's Allison Haley.
Allison!
She said, "May the force be with you."
May the force be with you. Now, Allison won a couple weeks ago,
I was like, yeah, she's won once before.
and she won double.
Oh, yeah.
But this week, what did we say about the say-so?
If you completed a say-so video and you win this game, you get triple.
Triple, 3 times. So we sent Allison some towelettes, and she got a lot of them. So maybe she might get some more. All right, so we're going to turn it over to the Wheel of Destiny.
Destiny.
All right, there we go. So that's not it. That's our last one we were doing. So we're going to spin the Wheel of Destiny. Allison, let's see what you won. Oh, man. She's going to get a $60 Amazon gift card.
That is a lot.
$60. So you can buy all the towelettes in the world that you want. So that's pretty awesome. So, hey, thanks for sending your video in and also for playing with us here tonight. And so, hey, I want to set this up real quick. Last week we meant to tell everybody this. We apologize, but we did email your parents and we put it on Instagram. Another reason to go on the Instagram and follow us is that we wanted to provide an opportunity like we have in the past, like we do our monthly say-sos. And obviously, we're not in person, so we can't do that, where the person stands up and kind of finishes a prompt or a sentence about stuff that God has been teaching them. And so what we did is we put it out there for leaders and for students to send in some say-so videos. And the prompt this month was, during this time, this coronavirus time, God has taught me blank. And so we want to show you that video, and then Sophia will be coming and finishing up our series on Messy People, Awesome God.
During this time, God has taught me that He's in control and we're not the ones who get to decide the future.
During this time, God has taught me to keep coming back to Him and that He will sustain me.
During this time, God has taught me to be grateful for what I have.
During this time, God has taught me to be patient and to be calm during this time of coronavirus and during this time of craziness. So, God has taught me to be patient.
I'd say during this time, God has taught me that sometimes like the day-to-day life that we live in right now can be really fast-paced, and we just get like caught up in everything. And sometimes we need to slow down in order to see God in some things.
This month, God showed me discipline.
During this time, God has taught me that I need Him to get through it.
During this time of quarantine, I think the most God has taught me is that God has taught me to really appreciate your family and how much they do for you and how much they're here for you, especially during doing school at home. You know, mom and dad are always willing to help. And I think that's the most important thing right now, is just having your family with you, because if you didn't have them with you right now, it'd definitely be a worse time.
During this time, God has taught me that nothing in life is certain, and the only thing I can really depend on is God Himself and the truth that I find in His Word.
During these times, God has taught me to lay His trust in Him.
During this time, God has taught me to love my family more, appreciate them, and tolerate them.
Hi everybody, how are you? I would say during this time that God has taught me that I really struggle with pride. But in spite of that, He has been so good to me.
Hi guys, I'm so excited to be here tonight. Those say-so videos were awesome. I really loved how some people were like moving around, and I believe someone was on a bike when they were recording their video, but I thought it was great. So today, we're going to continue on with our series that's Messy People, Awesome God. So the first week, we talked about Moses. Last week, we talked about Jonah, and today, we're going to talk about a guy named Samson. So for those of you who don't know Samson, his life is kind of like a movie. Like, it's insane how much stuff he goes through and does in just like such a short period of time. And the thing about Samson is that he reminds me of this guy from the Avengers franchise named Loki, in that he was born with unbelievable potential but gave it up because of sin. Obviously, in the Marvel universe, like, sin isn't really talked about, but Loki's not a great dude. But he has this unbelievable potential because Loki's like a god in that universe. And I'm not going to get too much into it because I feel like that'll take up too much of our time. But Loki is this guy who gets compared to his brother a lot, and he does a lot of awful things. But in the end, he like turns his life around and like starts doing good things. In fact, I'm not going to spoil anything, even though you probably should have watched Avengers Infinity War and all that by now. But in the end, he turns out to be a really good guy. So Samson's kind of like that. He has this unbelievable potential. So he was born as a Nazarite. So his mom and his dad were told that they had to abstain from cutting his hair, wouldn't let him drink wine or eat grapes or raisins or anything like that. And he couldn't be near dead things. That was like the rules of the Nazarites. And to be a Nazarite was basically to commit yourself to God for a period of time. For Samson, it was his whole life. And the Nazarites, this kind of gave them more of a holy connection to God than just a normal Israelite. So it was like a period of time where you could really delve into your relationship with God more. And so Samson was supposed to be connected to God. And he was a judge. He's in the book of Judges. And the thing about judges is that they're not like kings in that they rule over Israel, but they're supposed to instruct Israel on God's will. So Samson was a judge and a Nazarite. So in Samson's life, he has just quite a few rules as a Nazarite. So he can't drink wine, can't eat grapes or raisins, be near the dead, not even if they're family, and can't shave his head. So you would think that with those rules, he wouldn't break them, because, pretty important to God. But from the very beginning, we see Samson stray immediately away from this. In the beginning of his life, when he starts to grow older, he forces his parents to set up a marriage between him and a Philistine woman. And for those of you who don't know, the Israelites and the Philistines don't get along that well. But God was actually going to use this marriage in order to confront the Philistines about some of the bad things that they had been doing. So he is going to go visit this Philistine woman that he really, really liked. And a lion attacks him on the way. And he tears this lion apart with his bare hands. Like, Samson is a strong dude. He's the strongest dude in the Bible. So he tears this lion apart with his bare hands, and he moves along his way, and then he comes back later on that same path and sees the lion again. And the lion has honey, like, in its dead carcass, which I know, really gross. And Samson takes his hand and he scoops out the honey out of a carcass and eats it. Now, if you remember, one of the rules is that you can't be near dead things. So besides this being unbelievably gross, it was also against his Nazarite vow. And then he goes along, and Samson's kind of a tricky dude. And he tells the Philistines, this group of Philistines that he's with, he tells them a riddle. And he says if they could guess it, he would give them 30 linen garments and 30 sets of clothes. But if they couldn't guess it, then they had to give him 30 linen garments and 30 sets of clothes. And the Philistines couldn't understand the riddle. So they go to Samson's soon-to-be wife and say, hey, can you trick Samson into telling you what the answer to the riddle is? She says okay, because she is a Philistine, so she wants to help out her people. And she asks Samson, and he tells her. And so the Philistines cheat. They tell Samson, hey, this is the answer to your riddle. And so Samson, in response, kills 30 Philistine people and takes their clothes after they're already dead, so again, breaking his Nazarite vow, and gives it to the Philistines. And so the Philistines promise to get their revenge. And Samson runs off because he's really mad at his soon-to-be wife. And so his wife is actually given to one of his companions. And so he comes back and he's like, oh, I want to get married now. But when he found out that his wife was already married to someone else, he tied foxes together, put torches in the foxes' tails, lit them, and then burned a Philistine village, land, where the Philistines had food. And the Philistines promised to retaliate again. So they bound him up, and they tried to kill him. But he killed them with a donkey's jawbone. He killed 1,000 Philistines. So again, breaking his Nazarite vow. And he goes on, and he meets this girl, Delilah. And Delilah, again, a Philistine woman. And she's not that great of a person. I mean, she has a lot going on in her life, and so Samson probably shouldn't have been with her. But another thing about Delilah is that she's actually trying to trick Samson into telling her what is his magical power, what gives him his great strength that allows him to kill so many people. so that she can take that power away, so that the Philistines can take that power away, so that they can kill him. And so she asks him, hey, if someone wanted to kill you, how would they do it? Like, how would they take away your great strength in order to kill you? And I feel like if someone asked me that, I probably would run to the hills. Like, I wouldn't stick around this person. But Samson lies to her, and so Delilah tries to, I think, bind him up with a bowstring, and it doesn't work because it's a lie. And eventually, over and over again, he lies to her, and she keeps trying these different tips and tricks that he tells her are going to work to take away his power, until eventually he tells her the truth that, hey, if you cut my hair, that's what will take my power away. And so Delilah sends the Philistines in, and they shave his head, and they bind him up, and they gouge his eyes out. And they force him to do work. And they send him into the temple one day because they kind of want to laugh at him, because he's a laughingstock at this point. One of the strongest men alive becomes this weak and blind man. And Samson, in this moment in the temple, begs God to bring back his strength just one more time so that he could bring down the Philistines. And he took the pillars on either side of the temple, and he tears them down. And he brought the temple down and the Philistine people with them, and he killed more people in his death than he ever did when he was alive. Now, if you know anything about Samson, if you have gathered anything from these stories, you might gather 3 different characteristics, and I think we have a slide for that. So, God used Samson even though he was impulsive, unfaithful, and unwise. He was impulsive because he would go after whatever he wanted, obey what God instructed him to do. He touched a dead body. He came near dead bodies all the time. He killed people. And I think that this shows us that despite how far gone we think we are, we can always turn back to God, and he can always use us. God will use all things for his glory, even if all you do is run from him like Samson did, and he can use you for his glory. In the same way that Samson was dedicated to God from his birth, we're set apart as Christians and as people of God. But in that same way, Samson wasn't free from the consequences of his sin, and neither are we. God still completed his plan of taking over the Philistines, but with a lot more bloodshed and hurt than was necessary because of Samson's sin. So just to recap, I think we have a slide for that. Samson's life was meant to be dedicated to God. He was supposed to be this great, powerful warrior, but because of his sin, he openly disobeyed God's rules, and it led to a lot more bloodshed and a lot more hurt than what would have happened if he had just obeyed God in the first place. But God still used him despite of this. So I guess the main idea is this, that even though we might think that Samson was too impulsive, too unfaithful, and too unwise to be useful, God still continued to use him to fulfill his plan. Samson was set apart by God and was used in his plans despite his failures and weaknesses. All right, I'm going to pray for you guys, and you're going to go off to small groups. Dear God, thank you for bringing us here tonight. God, I pray that we would learn something from Samson's story, that despite our failures, despite our weaknesses, that God can still use us. But even though we are dedicated to you, even though we're Christians, it doesn't mean that we're free from the consequences of our sins. That we still have to face when we mess up. You can use us in our plan, but we have to fess up to our consequences of our sin. God, I thank you for allowing us to be here tonight. In Jesus' name, amen.